The council chamber stretched for miles in every direction. Floating platforms held representatives from 47 different alien species. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others floated in tanks of methane or existed as clouds of electromagnetic energy, contained in special fields. The chamber orbited a star that belonged to no one, neutral ground for the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Ambassador Chen Wei stood on Earth's platform. It was small compared to the others. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago. They were the newest members, the youngest species to ever reach the stars. Chen wore his formal diplomatic uniform, dark blue with gold trim. His hair had turned gray during his 5 years of service here. Today he would present Earth's annual report. Distinguished members of the Council, Chen began, his voice amplified across the vast chamber. Earth has fulfilled all treaty obligations for the 14th consecutive year. Our tribute payments are complete. Our fleet remains at the agreed-upon limits. Our colonies have not expanded beyond approved boundaries. Chen pulled up holographic displays showing Earth's compliance. Charts and numbers floated in the air, glowing softly. Everything was in order. Everything was perfect. Chen had made sure of it. The Zathran ambassador interrupted. The Zathran looked like massive insects, with 6 legs and crystalline exoskeletons that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Their ambassador rose from his platform, mandibles clicking with what passed for laughter among his people. "How quaint," the Zathran said, his voice dripping with contempt. Earth presents its report like a student hoping for approval. "Tell me, Ambassador Chen, are you proud of your primitive fleet? Those chemical rockets you call warships?" A ripple of amusement spread through the chamber. Several other ambassadors made sounds that translated as laughter in their various languages. Chen's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. "Our vessels serve their purpose." Their purpose? The Velkari representative spoke up now. The Velkari were telepathic beings, speaking directly into the minds of everyone present. "We have seen your colony ships, human. They take decades to reach even nearby stars. Your people still use fusion drives. Fusion! Like children playing with fire." More laughter. Chen stood silent, letting them have their moment. The Horthax ambassador joined in. "And those kinetic weapons. Mass drivers and railguns? How adorably outdated. We stopped using such things 3,000 years ago." "Perhaps," the Zathran continued. "We have been too generous with Earth, clearly. They need guidance. Motivation to contribute more significantly to galactic civilization." The laughter stopped. The chamber grew quiet. Chen felt his stomach drop. He had seen this before, heard stories of what came next. Other species had faced similar moments in council history. The Zathran ambassador projected a document into the center of the chamber. It rotated slowly so all could see. "I propose new amendments to Earth's treaty obligations." Chen read the terms as they appeared. Each line was worse than the last. Tribute payments would increase by 400%. Earth would surrender all mining rights to the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The Council would station peacekeeping forces on Earth's moon. Humanity's fleet would be limited to just 50 vessels total. "This is unacceptable," Chen said quietly. "You misunderstand, Ambassador," the Zathran replied. "We are not asking. This is a requirement of Council membership. Accept these terms, or Earth will be declared in violation of the treaties." Chen knew what that meant. Violation meant sanctions. Sanctions meant blockade. Blockade meant war. And Earth's tiny fleet could not stand against the combined might of the Council. "I call for a vote," the Zathran announced. One by one, the platforms lit up with voting indicators. Green for yes, red for no. Chen watched helplessly as green lights appeared across the chamber. 46 green lights, 1 red light. The vote was complete. The amendments passed. "You have 72 hours, the Zathran said. Return to Earth. Explain to your leaders that this is the price of civilization. Tell them resistance is futile. We have been traveling the stars since before your ancestors learned to use tools. We have crushed rebellions on 1,000 worlds. Earth will comply, or Earth will be taught the cost of defiance." Chen looked around the chamber. Some ambassadors looked away, uncomfortable. Others stared back with cold satisfaction. A few species had tried to resist the Council before. Their homeworlds were now cautionary tales, their civilizations reduced to scattered refugees. But Chen had not survived 5 years in galactic politics by being stupid. He knew something the Council did not know. He had learned it in his very first week here, when he hired a Solinth data specialist to crack the Council's encrypted archives. The Solinth were brilliant with computers, and they had no love for the Council that taxed them into poverty. Chen had read the truth. Every new species faced this same test. The Council pushed until the newcomers either submitted or fought. Those who submitted became permanent underclass, exploited for centuries. Those who fought were destroyed as examples. It was a system that had worked for 10,000 years. Humanity had chosen a different path. They had chosen deception. Chen stood straight, meeting the Zathran's eyes. "I will deliver your message to Earth," he said formally. "But I warn you now, the same warning I gave when these talks began. Humanity has one principle we have followed throughout our entire history. We do not surrender. We do not kneel. And we never ever forget." The Zathran made that clicking sound again, the one that meant laughter, empty words from a species that has been spacefaring for barely a century. "Deliver your message, human. 72 hours, not a moment more." Chen bowed, the absolute minimum required by protocol. He turned and walked to the transport beam. As the light enveloped him, carrying him back to his ship, he allowed himself a small smile. They thought they knew humanity. They thought they had measured Earth's strength. They believed their own intelligence reports showing a weak fleet, outdated technology, and a species barely holding together. After the chaos of first contact, they were wrong about everything. Chen reached his ship and immediately opened an encrypted channel to Earth. He did not wait for the full 72 hours. He did not need to. The decision had been made years ago, the moment humanity learned what the Council really was. "Ambassador Chen to Earth Command," he said. "The Council has issued ultimatum as predicted. Executing Protocol Defiance. I repeat, executing Protocol Defiance." The response came 12 hours later, not from Earth Command, but from the President of the United Earth Government herself. It was a single word, broadcast on all channels, loud enough for every Council species to hear. "No." Chen closed his eyes and thought of his wife back on Earth, his 2 children. He thought of the billions of humans across Earth and the colonies, all of them trusting that their leaders had made the right choice. He thought of the fleet hidden in the dark spaces of the Sol system, thousands of ships the Council had no idea existed. The Council had ridiculed Earth. They had demanded submission. They had made their choice. Now they would learn what humans did to bullies. Now they would learn the price of threatening Earth. The war was about to begin, but it would not be the war the Council expected. The Council's military fleet arrived in the Sol system exactly 73 hours after the ultimatum. They came to enforce compliance, to show Earth the cost of saying no. The fleet consisted of 200 warships, a massive show of force meant to intimidate without actually destroying anything valuable. Admiral Kresh of the Zathran commanded the fleet from his flagship, the mighty Dominion's pride. He had crushed 17 rebellions in his career. Earth would be number 18. His sensors showed exactly what intelligence had predicted: 53 human vessels in orbit around Earth and Mars. Outdated designs, primitive weapons. This would be over in hours. "Open a channel to Earth," Kresh commanded. "Let us give them one final chance to surrender." Before his communications officer could respond, every screen on every ship in the Council fleet lit up simultaneously. A message was being broadcast directly into their systems, bypassing all security protocols. That should have been impossible. A human woman appeared on the screens. She wore a military uniform covered in medals. Her gray hair was pulled back severely. Her eyes were hard. "I am Admiral Elizabeth Zhao, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces," she said. "You have entered the Sol system with hostile intent. You have threatened Earth. You have demanded we surrender our freedom. We have one response." She leaned forward, and Admiral Kresh felt something he had not felt in decades: fear. "Come and take it," Zhao said. The transmission ended. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Kresh's sensors began screaming alerts. Ships were powering up all across the Sol system. Not 50 ships. Not 100. Thousands of vessels, their reactors coming online in perfect coordination. They had been hiding in the asteroid belt, in the rings of Saturn, in the ice of the Kuiper belt. They had been running silent, invisible to sensors, waiting. "How many?" Kresh whispered. "Counting now, sir," his sensor officer said, her voice shaking. 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. "Sir, they are still appearing." There are ships hidden everywhere. Kresh stared at the tactical display. The human fleet was not just appearing. It was moving, taking positions with military precision that spoke of years of planning and practice. These were not the actions of a primitive species. This was the work of veterans. All ships battle formation, Kresh ordered. Prepare to engage. But the human ships did not attack. Instead, every human vessel in the system began broadcasting. Not threats, not demands. Information. Files flooded into the Council fleet's computers. Historical records. Encrypted documents. Secret archives. Kresh recognized them immediately. They were the Council's own classified files. The ones that detailed every crime the Council had committed over 10,000 years. The exploitation, the wars of conquest, the genocides covered up as peacekeeping actions. How did they get these? Kresh's intelligence officer gasped. Admiral Zhao's voice came over the channel again. Did you think we would join the Council without learning everything about you first? We cracked your archives in our first year. We know what you are. We know what you do to new species. We know you test them, push them, break them. Another human appeared on screen beside Zhao. It was Ambassador Chen, but he wore a military uniform now, not diplomatic robes. We knew you would do this, Chen said. We have been preparing for this moment since the day Earth joined the Council. Every ship you thought you saw, those were decoys. Every technology report we filed, lies. Every compliance inspection we passed, we showed you exactly what we wanted you to see. The screen split again, showing images from across the Sol system. Massive shipyards that had been disguised as research stations. Weapons platforms that had been labeled as communication satellites. Colony ships that were actually troop carriers, each one holding enough firepower to level a continent. We learned from human history, Zhao continued. When someone stronger threatens you, you do not fight them on their terms. You deceive. You prepare. You make them think you are weak until the moment you are ready to show your strength. Kresh felt his confidence crumbling. His fleet was outnumbered 30-1. The human ships were surrounding his forces, their weapons locked but not firing. They were giving him a chance. Why? As if reading his mind, Zhao answered, We are not like you, Admiral Kresh. We do not want to kill you. We do not want this war. But we will not submit. We will not kneel. We will not let you take our freedom. Another transmission came through, this one from Earth itself. The President of the United Earth Government stood in the Council chamber of the UN building. Behind her, representatives from every nation on Earth stood united. To the Galactic Council, the President said, Earth formally withdraws from all treaties. We reject your authority. We deny your right to rule over us. From this moment forward, humanity stands alone, free, and ready to defend itself. The President held up a document, the original treaty that Earth had signed 15 years ago. She tore it in half. We gave you 15 years to treat us as equals, she said. You chose to treat us as slaves. That was your mistake. Now you will learn what humans become when you threaten our home. Now you will learn what we are truly capable of. Kresh's communications officer was receiving thousands of messages, reports from across the galaxy. Other species were watching this confrontation. The Council's secret files were spreading everywhere, downloaded and shared on 1 million worlds. Populations that had lived under Council rule for centuries were learning the truth. Rebellion was spreading. On the Cathari homeworld, riots had begun. The Solinth were refusing to pay tribute. The Vryn Collective was recalling its ambassador from the Council station. The entire galactic order was collapsing in real time. Admiral, his second-in-command said quietly, we should withdraw. This is not a battle we can win, Kresh wanted to argue. He wanted to order the attack, to show these upstart humans that the Council's power was absolute. But he was not a fool. His fleet was surrounded. His government was losing control across the galaxy, and the humans were still giving him the chance to leave alive. All ships, Kresh said slowly, prepare to withdraw. Admiral Zhao's voice cut through. Before you leave, you will return Ambassador Chen to Earth. You will release all human prisoners held in Council space, and you will deliver a message to your superiors. What message? Kresh asked. Tell them that humanity is done being pushed around. Tell them that we know all their secrets. Tell them that we have allies now, species that are tired of Council oppression, and tell them that if they send another fleet to Sol, it will not return home. Not as prisoners, not as refugees. It will simply disappear. Kresh knew she meant it. The humans had the strength to destroy his entire fleet. They were choosing mercy. That somehow made them more terrifying than any threat. "I will deliver your message," Kresh said. "One more thing," Chen added. "In 72 hours we will be broadcasting evidence of every council crime to every world in the galaxy. Every species will know what you did to the Marthran, what you did to the Solvari, what you did to every species that dared to resist. The council's power is built on fear and lies. We are going to tear it all down." The human fleet parted, creating a corridor for the council ships to leave. Kresh ordered his fleet to retreat, burning engines at maximum to escape the Sol system as quickly as possible. As they fled, he watched the human ships on his sensors. They did not pursue. They simply held position, guarding their homeworld. Kresh had fought in 50 battles. He had won 49 of them. But he had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that was strong enough to win but wise enough to offer mercy. An enemy that had spent 15 years pretending to be weak while growing stronger. Humanity had not just defeated the Council. They had humiliated them. And the galaxy was watching. The Council emergency session began 48 hours after the fleet's humiliating retreat from Sol. Representatives from all 47 species gathered, though now 3 platforms stood empty. The Cathari, Solinth, and Vryn had officially withdrawn their ambassadors. High Counselor Thrain of the Zathran called the session to order. His voice echoed through the chamber, but he could not hide his fury. "The human situation has become a crisis. They have rejected our authority. They have spread lies about the Council, and now other species are following their example of rebellion." Ambassador Velix of the Horthax spoke up. "Lies, High Counselor. I have reviewed the documents the humans released. They are from our own archives. Authentic records of Council actions over 10 millennia. These are not lies. These are truths we kept hidden. Truths taken out of context," Thrain snapped. "Every action the Council took was necessary for galactic stability. The lesser species do not understand the burden of leadership." "Lesser species?" A new voice entered the discussion. It came from the Morthani platform. The Morthani were an old race, one of the Council's founding members. Their ambassador, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline matrix, pulsed with agitation. "Is that what we call them now? I remember when the Zathran were the lesser species barely allowed to join the Council. That was only 2,000 years ago." Thrain's mandibles clicked in anger, but he could not argue. The Morthani remembered everything. The chamber's screen suddenly activated without authorization. A human face appeared. Ambassador Chen, still wearing his military uniform, looked at each platform in turn. "Greetings, Council," Chen said pleasantly. "I am broadcasting from Earth. I thought you might appreciate an update on the situation you created." "This is a violation of protocol," Thrain shouted. "How did you breach our security?" "The same way we breached it 15 years ago," Chen replied. "You really should update your encryption. Now let me tell you what has happened in the last 2 days." The screen split into multiple images. Each showed a different world, a different species. "The Cathari homeworld," Chen narrated. "Population 6 billion. For 300 years you forced them to pay tribute totaling 30% of their gross planetary product. They lived in poverty while their resources enriched the Council. Yesterday we sent them the financial records showing where their tribute actually went. Not to galactic defense. Not to infrastructure. To private accounts owned by Council members. The images showed massive protests in Cathari cities. Millions of aliens filled the streets demanding their government break from the Council. The Solinth," Chen continued. "Master computer engineers who you employed at slave wages. We offered them real jobs, real pay, working for human corporations. 15,000 of their best programmers accepted. They are now helping us crack the rest of your systems." More images. Solinth families leaving their world on human transport ships, heading for colonies where they would be treated as equals, not servants. "The Vryn Collective," Chen went on. "They asked us a simple question. If Earth could say no to the Council, why could they not do the same? We told them the truth. They could, so they did." Thrain watched his carefully built order collapse in real time. "What do you want, human?" "Name your price to stop this madness," Chen's expression hardened. "This is not about price, Counselor. This is about justice. For 10,000 years, the Council has exploited every new species it encountered. You tested them, pushed them, broke them. Those who resisted were destroyed. Those who submitted became your slaves. You built an empire on fear. We built civilization. Thrain roared. Before the council, the galaxy was chaos. Endless wars between species. We brought order. You brought tyranny, Chen corrected. And you dressed it up as civilization. But humanity knows tyranny when we see it. We have fought it on our own world for our entire history. Kings, emperors, dictators. We overthrew them all. Did you really think we would submit to you? Another ambassador spoke up, the Velkari representative. What happens now, Ambassador Chen? Will Earth attack the Council? Will you replace us as the dominant power? No, Chen said firmly. We do not want to rule you. We want to free you, all of you. The screens changed again. This time they showed human ships, hundreds of them arriving at different worlds. But they were not warships. They were cargo vessels. In the next week, Chen explained, Earth will be delivering aid to every species that the Council exploited. Food, medicine, technology, free of charge. We will be offering trade agreements based on mutual benefit, not tribute. We will be sharing our military technology with any species that wants to defend itself from Council retaliation. You are destroying the galactic order, Thrain shouted. Yes, Chen agreed. We are. Because your order was built on oppression, we are going to replace it with something better. Something based on cooperation, not domination. On equality, not hierarchy. The Morthani ambassador pulsed thoughtfully. And if the Council refuses to change? If we attempt to maintain our authority by force? Chen's expression became cold. Then you will learn the second lesson about humanity. We are very, very good at war. We have been fighting each other for our entire history. Wars that lasted years, decades, even centuries. We have developed strategies, weapons, and tactics that you cannot imagine. The fleet you saw at Sol? That was just our defensive force. We have more. Much more. How many ships does Earth have? Someone asked. Enough, Chen replied. But we hope we will never need to use them. We would rather build than destroy. We would rather heal than harm. That is the difference between us and you. Thrain knew he had lost. The Council's power was based on information control and military superiority. Humanity had destroyed both. The secret files were spreading across the galaxy faster than the Council could suppress them. And the Council's military had proven insufficient against Earth's forces. What are your terms? Thrain asked quietly. Dissolve the Council, Chen said. Release all tributary species from their obligations. Agree to a new galactic assembly where every species has equal representation and equal votes. Submit to war crimes tribunals for the worst offenses. Pay reparations to the species you exploited. Impossible. The Council species will never accept this. They already are, Chen said. The screens showed new images. On Morthani worlds, on Velkari stations, on a dozen Council member planets, protests were erupting. Their own populations had seen the evidence. They knew what their governments had done. They were demanding change. Your own people are turning against you, Chen said. You can accept our terms peacefully, or you can be overthrown by your own citizens. Either way, the old order is finished. The transmission ended. The Council chamber fell into chaos. Ambassadors argued, shouted, made accusations. Some called for continued resistance. Others wanted to negotiate. A few simply left, recognizing that their power was gone. High Counselor Thrain sat in silence. He had ruled the Council for 30 years. He had believed in the system, believed that the Council's harsh methods were necessary for galactic stability. Now he saw the truth. The system had been designed not to create order, but to maintain power for those who already had it. The humans had exposed that truth, and in doing so, they had broken the Council's grip on the galaxy. 3 hours later, the Morthani announced they would support Earth's proposal for a new galactic assembly. The Velkari followed, then the Yorthani, then the Pelix. One by one, species that had once obeyed the Council without question turned away. By the end of the day, only 12 species still supported the old system. The rest had chosen freedom. Thrain made one final transmission to Earth, not to the government. To Ambassador Chen personally, you have won, human, Thrain said. I acknowledge defeat. But answer me one question, how? How did a species that barely reached the stars 15 years ago defeat a system that endured for 10 millennia? Chen appeared on the screen. He looked tired but satisfied. Because we have spent our entire history fighting tyrants, Counselor. Every human child learns about the empires that tried to rule us. Rome, Britain, the Mongols, the Nazis. All of them believed they were invincible. All of them fell. We learned that no empire lasts forever. and no tyrant can withstand a people who refuse to submit. And you think your way is better? I know it is, Chen said, because we have tried tyranny too, and every time we chose freedom instead. It is harder. It is messier, but it is right. And that is what you never understood. Power without justice is just another form of evil. Thrain ended the call. He looked around the empty council chamber. The platforms that once held the galaxy's most powerful leaders now stood dark and silent. The age of the council was over. The age of humanity had begun. The 12 remaining council loyalist species made their decision in secret. If they could not maintain power through politics, they would maintain it through force. They would make an example so terrible that no species would ever dare to rebel again. They would destroy Earth. The Zathran, Pelthrani, Gorvan, and 9 other species pooled their entire military forces. 4,000 warships assembled at the Kepler 442 system, just 20 light-years from Sol. It was the largest armada in galactic history. They called it the Judgment Fleet. Admiral Kresh commanded again, though he had argued against the plan. He knew what Earth was capable of. But the council leaders would not listen. They demanded blood for their humiliation. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Jump to Sol on your command. Kresh took a deep breath. May our ancestors forgive us. All ships jump. 4,000 vessels tore holes in space and emerged in the Sol system. Their sensors immediately went active, searching for the human fleet. What they found made even Kresh's blood run cold. 12,000 human warships waited for them. They had known the fleet was coming. Of course they had. Human intelligence had penetrated every council species. There were no secrets anymore. But the ships were only part of the defense. The asteroid belt had been transformed into a nightmare of weapons platforms, automated defense drones, and missile batteries. There were thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. Jupiter's moons held particle beam arrays powerful enough to cut a battleship in half. Saturn's rings concealed railgun, platforms that could accelerate projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. The entire Sol system had become a fortress. Admiral, Josen's greetings, the communication officer said quietly. She asks if you want to surrender now or after we destroy half your fleet. Tell her, Kresh said slowly, that I am not in command. The council leaders are watching this battle remotely. They will order us to attack regardless of casualties. A pause. Then Zhao's voice came directly through. Then I am sorry, Admiral. You seem like a decent being caught in a bad situation. I wish we could have met as friends. As do I, Kresh admitted. But I have my orders. I understand, Zhao said. Then let us get this ugliness over with. The council fleet opened fire first. Thousands of missiles and energy beams lanced across space toward the human positions. The humans responded with a wall of point defense fire. Lasers and particle beams created a net of destruction. Most of the council missiles died before reaching their targets. Those that got through hit shield systems that absorbed terrifying amounts of damage. Then the humans counterattacked. It was not like any battle Kresh had ever fought. Human tactics were aggressive, unpredictable, and brutally efficient. They did not fight in neat formations. They swarmed like angry insects, attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. Human fighters were everywhere. Small, fast ships that the council sensors could barely track. They dove into the council formations, firing missiles and pulling away before the larger ships could target them. Each fighter seemed to operate independently, yet they coordinated perfectly. They are not using standard battle networks, Kresh's intelligence officer reported. Each ship's AI is making its own decisions but sharing data in real time. It is like fighting a hive mind, except every unit can think for itself. A group of human destroyers executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. They accelerated toward a council battleship, then split apart at the last second, surrounding it. Their weapons fired in perfect synchronization, overwhelming the battleship's shields. The ship exploded. How are they doing this? Someone asked. Kresh knew. Practice. Hundreds of years of practice. Humans have been fighting space battles in simulations since before they left their planet. They have run millions of scenarios, tested every possible tactic. This is not their first space battle. It is their millionth. The human heavy cruisers engaged next. These ships were massive, bristling with weapons. But they did not fight like council ships. Instead of trading shots at long range, they closed distance aggressively. Their armor was thick enough to withstand multiple hits. They took damage that would cripple council vessels and kept fighting. They are not afraid to die, Kresh's second-in-command observed with horror. They are willing to sacrifice ships to get into close range. But they were not dying. Human damage control was extraordinary. Ships that should have been destroyed limped back to repair stations, were patched up, and returned to battle. The humans had planned for attrition. They had planned for everything. The asteroid belt platforms opened fire. Thousands of railgun rounds crossed the system at incredible speeds. Council shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were far less effective against solid projectiles. Ships started taking catastrophic damage. Kresh watched his fleet disintegrate. In 30 minutes of combat, he had lost 500 ships. The humans had lost perhaps 50. The mathematics were brutal. At this rate, the Council fleet would be destroyed in 3 hours. All ships pull back, Kresh ordered. Retreat to defensive formation. But the Council leaders overrode his command. Continue attacking! That is an order. We will be slaughtered, Kresh shouted back. Then you will die with honor. The Council's authority must be maintained. Kresh looked at his crew. Young beings who had joined the military believing they were protecting civilization. They were about to die for nothing. Sacrificed to the pride of leaders who were safely far away. He made his decision. Cut the command channel. Kresh ordered. All ships, this is Admiral Kresh. I am assuming full tactical authority. Any ship that wishes to surrender to Earth may do so. Any ship that wishes to continue fighting may follow me, but I will not send you to pointless deaths. Silence. Then one by one, ships in his fleet powered down their weapons. 2,000 vessels signaled surrender. The remaining 2,000 formed up around Kresh's flagship. These were the true believers, the ones who would die for the Council. Admiral Zhao's voice came through again. A brave choice, Admiral. For those who surrendered, they will be treated well. For those who continue to fight, I promise you a warrior's end. The human fleet split. Half surrounded the surrendered ships, ensuring they remained out of the fight. The other half turned toward Kresh's force. They outnumbered him 3-1 now, and his ships were already damaged. The battle resumed. This time the humans showed no mercy. They had offered surrender. It had been refused. Now they would demonstrate what humanity looked like when the restraints came off. Human ships used tactics the Council had never seen. They hacked Council communications, creating false orders and confusion. They used the system's gravity wells to slingshot around planets, achieving accelerations that should have killed their crews but somehow did not. They deployed weapons that Council sensors could not identify until it was too late to defend. Kresh's flagship, Dominion's Pride, found itself facing a human ship of equal size. The name scrolled across his screen, UES Indomitable. The captain of that vessel hailed him. Captain Maria Santos, the human woman said. She was young, probably in her 30s. Her uniform was scorched from fire and blood stained her sleeve. I am giving you one last chance, Admiral. Surrender your ship, live, see your family again. And if I refuse? Kresh asked. Then I will destroy you, Santos said simply. Not because I want to. Because you give me no choice, please. I have killed enough today. Do not make me kill more. Kresh looked at his crew. They looked back at him. He saw fear in their eyes, but also trust. They would follow whatever order he gave. He thought of his own family, his mate and 3 offspring waiting on his home world. Captain Santos, Kresh said slowly, if I surrender, what happens to my crew? They become prisoners of war. They will be held in comfortable conditions until this conflict is resolved. They will be fed, given medical care, and eventually returned home. Earth does not torture or execute prisoners. We are not the Council. Kresh believed her. He had read the reports about the humans. Even in their own wars, they had rules about how prisoners should be treated. They called it the Geneva Convention. They actually cared about the lives of their enemies. My crew surrenders, Kresh said, but I request that you allow me to speak to the other ships in my fleet. Many of them will follow my example. Granted, Santos said. Kresh opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Admiral Kresh. I am surrendering the Dominion's Pride to Earth forces. I order all ships to stand down. We have lost this battle. We have lost this war. There is no shame in acknowledging defeat when facing a superior force. Live so that you may return to your families. Live so that you may help build the new galaxy that is coming. One by one, ships in the Council fleet powered down their weapons. Within 10 minutes, every Council vessel had surrendered. The battle was over. Kresh watched as human ships moved in to escort his fleet to holding areas. They did not gloat. They did not celebrate. They simply did their duty, treating the defeated with respect. Captain Santos appeared on his screen again. "Thank you, Admiral. You saved a lot of lives today, both yours and mine." "Captain," Kresh asked, "why did you show us mercy?" "We came to destroy your world." Santos was quiet for a moment. "Because we remember what it is like to fight wars where no mercy was shown. We remember the horrors." 3 months after the Battle of Seoul, Ambassador Chen Wei walked through the corridors of the old council station. The place looked different now. Where once there had been grand platforms for the powerful, there were now equal-sized spaces for every species. The walls that once displayed council propaganda now showed artwork from hundreds of different cultures. The station had a new name. The Galactic Assembly. Chen entered the main chamber. It was full. Representatives from 83 species sat in a vast circle. Some were former council members. Others were species that had been freed from council exploitation. Many were entirely new species, ones that the council had refused to admit because they were deemed too primitive or too poor. All of them had equal votes now. One species, one vote. No special privileges. No permanent seats. Democracy on a galactic scale. Chen took his place at the human delegation's platform. President Martinez of Earth stood beside him, having come personally to witness this moment. This was the first full session of the new assembly, the day they would vote on the founding charter. The speaker, a Morthani named Eleth, called the session to order. The Morthani had volunteered to be the first speaker, arguing that their species had been complicit in council crimes and should work to make amends. "We gather today to create something new," Eleth said, his crystalline body pulsing with soft light. "For 10,000 years the galaxy was ruled by fear and force. That age has ended. Today we begin the age of cooperation and equality." There was applause, the sound taking many forms across many species. Clicking, whistling, humming, and clapping blended together in a symphony of hope. "The charter before us was written by representatives from 30 different species," Eleth continued. "It establishes rules for the assembly. Every species has one vote. Decisions require a 2/3 majority. No species may be forced to join, and any species may leave at any time. Military force may only be used in self-defense or with unanimous consent." The charter also contained provisions that the old council would have found shocking: universal rights for all sentient beings, limits on tribute and taxation, requirements for transparency in government, mechanisms for holding leaders accountable. "Before we vote," Eleth said, "Ambassador Chen of Earth has asked to speak." Chen stood and walked to the center platform. He looked around at the assembled representatives, seeing hope and fear in equal measure. They were hopeful for what the future might bring, but fearful that humanity would simply replace the council as the new master. "I will be brief," Chen said. 3 months ago, Earth stood alone against the council. We refused to submit to tyranny. Many of you expected us to replace the council with our own empire. Some of you feared it. Some of you may have wanted it." He paused, letting the words settle. "We will not do that. Earth does not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek only to be part of it, as equals among equals. The power we demonstrated at Seoul will be used only for defense, never for conquest. That is our promise." "Words are easy," a voice called out. It was the Pelthrani representative. The Pelthrani had fought against Earth in the battle. "How do we know you will keep this promise?" "You do not," Chen admitted. "You will have to trust us, and we will have to earn that trust through our actions. That is why Earth proposes that all species be allowed to inspect our military facilities. We will hide nothing. We will share our technology freely with any species that wants it. We will prove through transparency that we are not your enemy." President Martinez stood and joined Chen. "Let me add something," she said. "Humanity has made many mistakes in our history. We have fought terrible wars. We have oppressed our own people. We know what tyranny looks like because we have lived through it. That is why we will never inflict it on others." The Zathran representative stood. It was not High Counselor Thrain. He had been arrested along with other council leaders to face trial for war crimes. This was a new representative, younger, who had not been part of the old regime. "The Zathran people wish to apologize," the representative said, his voice humble. "We led the council in its worst excesses. We demanded Earth's submission. We threatened war. We were wrong. We ask forgiveness, not for our leaders, but for our people who were deceived by them." Chen nodded. Apology accepted. But forgiveness must be earned. The Zathran government has agreed to pay reparations to every species it exploited. That is a good start. Other former council species spoke up, making similar commitments. The Velkari pledged to share their telepathic communication technology. The Horthax offered their expertise in terraforming to help rebuild damaged worlds. The Gorvan agreed to open their trade routes to all species. We have all been changed by these events, Eleth observed. The question before us now is simple. Do we move forward together, or do we return to the old ways of division and conflict? The vote was called. One by one, representatives pressed their voting buttons. Green for yes, red for no. Chen watched as the results appeared on the main display. 79 green. 4 red. The charter passed. The assembly erupted in celebration. Species that had been enemies 3 months ago now congratulated each other. The galaxy had changed, perhaps forever. But Chen knew the work was just beginning. The charter was only words on paper. Making it real would take years, maybe decades. There would be setbacks. There would be conflicts. Not every species would want to follow the new rules. Later that day, Chen found himself in a small meeting room with Admiral Kresh. The Zathran admiral was a prisoner, awaiting trial, but he had asked to speak with Chen privately. The guards had allowed it. You wanted to see me? Chen asked, sitting across from the admiral. I wanted to understand, Kresh said. Your species achieved military victory. You could have done anything, taken any world, demanded any tribute. Instead, you gave power away. Why? Chen smiled sadly. Because we know what happens when you keep power by force. Eventually, someone stronger comes along. Eventually, your own people turn against you. The council lasted 10,000 years, but it fell in 3 months once its lies were exposed. You think your way will last longer? I think it has a better chance, Chen said. Because it is based on choice, not coercion. Species join the assembly because they want to, not because they are forced. That creates loyalty that no amount of military power can buy. Kresh was silent for a moment. And what happens to me? You will stand trial, Chen said honestly. But you will receive a fair trial. You will be allowed to defend yourself. If you are found guilty, your sentence will be proportional to your crimes. The tribunal is not seeking revenge, it is seeking justice. I am guilty, Kresh said quietly. I followed orders I knew were wrong. I threatened Earth, I led a fleet to destroy your world. I deserve whatever punishment comes. You also surrendered when you could have kept fighting, Chen pointed out. You saved lives. That will be taken into account. Kresh looked at Chen with something like wonder. You are serious. You actually care about justice, not just victory. Yes, Chen said simply. That is the difference between us and the council. We believe in something beyond power. We believe in doing what is right. 2 years passed. The Galactic Assembly grew to include 112 species. The old council species paid their reparations, rebuilt their governments, and slowly earned back the trust of the galaxy. War crimes trials concluded with sentences ranging from imprisonment to community service, but no executions. Earth had argued that executing leaders would only create martyrs. Admiral Kresh was sentenced to 20 years of service, helping rebuild worlds damaged by council exploitation. He accepted the sentence with dignity and, by all accounts, threw himself into the work with genuine dedication. High Counselor Thrain received a life sentence, but in a prison designed for rehabilitation, not punishment. He was required to teach history, explaining to young beings how tyranny corrupts and why freedom matters. It was, many thought, a worse punishment than death for someone who had wielded absolute power. Earth shared its technology as promised. The faster-than-light drives they had secretly developed were given freely to any species that wanted them. Medical advances that could cure diseases affecting dozens of species were released without patent restrictions. Energy technology that could power entire worlds without pollution became available to all. Some species worried that Earth was making itself vulnerable by sharing so much. But President Martinez explained it simply. A strong galaxy makes Earth safe. A weak galaxy makes us a target. We are investing in our neighbors because their success is our success. Chen stood in the assembly chamber on the 2nd anniversary of its founding. He was now the Earth's permanent representative, having decided that this was where he could do the most good. He had aged in those 2 years. The job was demanding, the negotiations endless. But when he looked around the chamber and saw species that once hated each other working together, he knew it was worth it. A young Solinth intern approached him after the session. "Ambassador Chen, I am writing a thesis on the Council's fall. Can I ask you something?" "Of course," Chen said. "My professors say that humanity's military power ended the Council, but others say it was your moral example. Which was it?" Chen thought about the question. "Both," he finally said. "Our military power got the Council's attention, but our moral example won the peace.